what's going on? It's Josh with Everything Paranormal. How are you doing, folks? I am doing good tonight. We are starting the show. All right. I am hopefully, let's see, who's all in here if y'all want to pop in here and say hi. But, uh, but yeah, so yes, folks. Um, Sorry about that. I all of a sudden at the last minute had a phone call and Terry Lynn, no, it wasn't the person that you were asking. So hey, Stacy, how you doing? Good to see you popped in there. Tonight we're gonna cover some paranormal topics, some things I thought we would dive into. I thought might be fun to take a deeper look into some of the categories of hauntings. As you guys know, there's pretty much four main categories of hauntings, and I just thought we would take a deeper dive and kind of see, what we got going on with all of that. So yeah, I am super excited about that, folks. Um, and hopefully, you guys will have a lot to add as we wait for some people to get in here before we really dive into it tonight. But yes, I hope not only that you guys coming in are regulars coming in the chat. Maybe we'll get some new people tonight coming in the lives. And of course, maybe we'll get some. And for those of you that are watching this after the fact, so I'm new and I heard the show is very good. It is very good. It is very good, Bob. uh, yeah, because we know that you're new. If anybody is new that watches, they wouldn't know if Bob Fountain's new, right, or not. So yeah, Bob's new. Says the guy who was just on the show last episode with sound problems, I might add. But that's all good. We're just picking on you. Hopefully, we'll get that resolved soon. Now, I might be, I damn Spelljack. I might be. Well, I figured, I never know with you, Bob. I never know, honestly, if you really met very good, or I didn't know if you were picking on me. I don't know. Sometimes you like to do that, but yes, folks. For those of you that are watching this on a replay later, I hope you guys are doing good as well. So yes, I'm excited. We're gonna, like I said, we are gonna dive into some topics tonight. As far as some upcoming guests, I have some people that I'm reaching out to right now, and we are going to get some other people, some fresh meat, if you will. No offense with my regulars, because I've got special plans for them. So for Stacy and Bob, some of you guys that are out in the chat, and I've got some special things in mind that I would like to get with you guys about. Bob, I already kind of talked to you a little bit about things. So Stacy, I'm gonna send you an email here soon. But and we'll surprise the folks, hopefully in the near future, with something really fun. But beyond that, guys, I'm excited. Like I said, we're gonna have some upcoming guests, and I'd say, you know what, let's kind of start getting into some of this too, because I really want to really start talking about a few things. Just give me a second here. Like I said, we're gonna let a few people pile in here. Um, I just got to text somebody back here. So guys, just bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk about some chat, some possible subjects for us to talk about tonight also. But I got to just finish up this last bit of business here. I'm just trying to do a text response. Real professional of me. I try to maintain a professional show. I don't see any conversation going on in there. All right. All right. Okay. I see you. You see me. What's going on? I see you. Stacy, I've got to head out in a half hour to do a pickup. Catch the last. Okay. Awesome. I see we are conversating. Sorry, I just said hi. I think Josh is dead. Nope, just texting. Yeah, sorry. I just had to finish up a text because I was supposed to do an 8 o'clock show with somebody and they never responded to my email um, in time. And so there was a lot of confusion. So when people don't respond to emails, um, then I don't have a choice. So we couldn't do the 8 o'clock show, and so and I have my show at 9 o'clock. So, all right. So bottom line, guys, let's get started, shall we? Let's dive into some paranormal. All right. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to go ahead and now I wanted to kind of randomly look up 4 types of paranormal. Now I could go to my book and I have the definitions in my book of what I say they are, my versions, but I'm not really worried about that. That's not fun. We already know all my views. So I just thought let's pull this up here. And I actually pulled up, I just typed it in, and one of the first websites I got was Paranormal Milwaukee or .com. So if you guys want to check them out, paranormalmilwaukee.com or Paranormal Investigators of Milwaukee or Milwaukee, as the Indians pronounced, right? So, anyways, I typed in, what are the 4 types of hauntings, and just wanted to see what other people said. So this is apparently what they actually put on. They have a Paranormal 101 right here, as you can see, and then it says, "Are you familiar with these 4 types of hauntings?" PIM, I guess that's their initials there. PIM breaks up hauntings into 4 main types: residual, intelligent, poltergeist, and inhuman. These are listed in the order of their prevalence. So, of course, we talked about that. Very similar font right here, too. See that? Look at that. Residual. Kind of looks like a lot like my font if you look in the corner of my screen over here. But anyways, let's I'll blow this up. Well, no, I think you guys are good. Okay. So residual. This is commonly described as a videotape playing over and over again and seemingly random times. It is believed that a residual haunting is trapped or imprinted energy on an environment. Generally, this occurred because something traumatic happened at the location. The event may not have resulted in anyone dying, but it could have. The biggest thing to note about a residual haunting is that it does not have intelligence. This means that there is no consciousness there to acknowledge you or anything that is going on. Thus, setting up trigger objects or doing EVP sessions at a location with only residual activity will do no good, as there is nothing there with consciousness to respond. All right, and let's finish off and see what they got here. It is believed that this kind of activity has a trigger which causes the tape to play and the activity to occur. The trigger may be a time of year, day, or time. Hold on. A time of year, day, or time of day event such as an argument or someone crying or even someone playing a game of cards. Determining what the trigger is for the residual haunting is key to trying to capture it. There is a theory that certain materials in the bedrock of locations such as quartz or having a running water source near the location such as a river can increase the chances of a residual haunting occurring, but there have been no conclusive studies to support this theory. So, All right. So guys, you wanna let's dig into this. So okay, now I'm not here to tear apart these guys. I mean, these guys are fellow investigators, so I don't want to tear apart what they say. But I will say, I will point this out. So paranormal investigators of Milwaukee, on your residual definition, I would like you guys to look at this section right here, because you end this paragraph with setting up trigger objects will not do any good. But yet you turn right around and talk an entire thing about how things can trigger. There's all kinds of things that can trigger these events, trigger this motion. So I would, if I was a normal person, I would be confused by what you meant. By like, so can it be triggered? By objects? Not what's going on? So to me, this seems a little bit odd. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of clarify that with the Milwaukee folks. Maybe I don't know that. I mean, is that just me? Am I reading this wrong, guys? But again, they say setting up trigger objects or doing EVP sessions, but then it turns around and it says that it's believed this kind of activity has a trigger. So which is it, guys? Because it does say that like playing a game of cards or someone crying. So obviously things audible or actions can trigger this. So that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of wondering what exactly they mean but now all in all, in the beginning of this, when they talk about the tape playing over and over, I do like that. I think that's good. I mean, for the most part, they got the definition down pretty good. I'm just a little confused as far as the trigger part. They seem to kind of canceled each other out on that one. I'm not sure what that means. And I think what they were going for, though, what they really should have done, instead of talking about setting up trigger objects, I think they probably could have clarified more of if they were trying to interact with a ghost by asking questions and those type of things. But then again, you might trigger a residual activity. So I would say if I was somebody, I would say, set up your trigger objects. You never know what you're dealing with till later anyways. So if you are doing an EVP session and something happens, you may have set off just by a question you asked. So I would say go ahead and just do your EVP sessions or trigger objects anyways. So that's what I would say. Let's see. ICU says it's wet and icky today. Yeah, I feel ghostly cold. Yeah, we got a lot of lightning and storms coming through here, so we've been kind of keeping an eye on tornadoes. So if my show goes down, we know we probably had some lightning. We might have lost power. Bob says, I have found that residuals still produce an energy that is different than neutral environment. Okay, yeah. The trigger is like an on switch to run the film clip. Right. So, and that's what I'm saying. So in here, they're saying like, hey, it's no good to set up these and this and that. So I kind of get what they're saying, but I think they probably needed to word that last sentence a little better on that first paragraph. And then they could talk about the trigger objects and things like that. So I think overall that's pretty decent. So I just wanted to see what they're doing. Again, I'm not trying to be critical, guys. I'm not trying to be super critical, but all right. So now let's read intelligent. I don't want to get too far ahead here. So let's see how they do. Now it's intelligent for. Now I'm just going to say this for one paragraph. Okay. Intelligence is kind of one of the most things that we deal with, but this type of haunting is the main type of haunting investigated by paranormal investigators. See, this is what I was just saying. As the name implies, this type of haunting has intelligence or consciousness associated with it. For those that believe ghosts are spirits of the dead, this is the consciousness of that deceased individual. Whatever it may be, it can respond to questions, react to trigger objects, and interact in many ways with the investigators. This type of haunting is very fun to investigate because you are only limited by your ingenuity when it comes to thinking of ways to interact with whatever might be there. So, all right. So, what do you guys think? I honestly, from my understanding of this, for those that believe ghosts are spirits of the dead, this is the consciousness of that deceased individual. So basically, they're just saying, look, if you believe in ghosts, if you believe that the ghosts that you see are spirits of dead people, then you're actually interacting with their consciousness. Now, some people might say consciousness. Some people may say they're still their soul, right? Their spirit body slash soul that they could be interacting with. I don't necessarily mean it has to be their consciousness, but that is also another great theory. Maybe it's just their consciousness, and you're interacting with that energy form, that consciousness. Maybe that's what they also mean by soul. So either way, but I think all in all, um, that really does sum up intelligent hauntings. Um, so ICU says, what kind of things trigger a residual? Again, it be anything. It really could be anything. In all honesty, you again, just like even they said, playing a game of cards, crying, things like that can trigger those events. Now, interestingly enough, I wonder why. That'd be my thing. Why would there be a trigger? So, for example, if a baby crying could trigger, uh, you know, that means when a baby cries and puts that input, that cry that goes into the universe, does it? Is there anything intelligent receiving that and saying, "Cue the tape"? I mean, I don't know. It just that sounds to me triggering. It sounds kind of odd. I just honestly wonder if the events tend to occur most of the time, but you have to have the right. There has to be the right set of circumstances to be able to view it or listen to it or hear it or catch snippets of it. I also wonder that too, if that may be the case. That's probably why most of the time we don't always have the exact same thing, or maybe it's repeating all the time. And again, you may hear it the same time every time because you're tuned into that. Other people may not be. I don't know. Again, this is very theoretical. So, but if there was trigger objects, it just makes you wonder, you know, is there programming in place? Is there intelligence in place to say if X happens, then A, B, and Z? I don't know. That seems odd to me, but yay, Stacy says harmonics. The same reason a voice can shatter a wine glass, hit the frequency, and trigger the event. Okay, I mean I can see that. So I mean, are the events are they just frozen in motion? Or is this just energy frozen in motion until the right frequency, and then you're sort of activating this, or again, very very scientific, very in depth. But yeah, that also kind of makes sense the way Stacy framed it. Bob says a safety rule of thumb is to think of an intelligent entity is someone you just met and wants you to get into the car with them just to give you some candy. Right, right. uh yes, intelligent. So the thing was with intelligence, you have to be intelligent hauntings. You have to be careful with intelligent hauntings because whenever you start interacting with something, you don't know what it is. So there could be a lot of trickery, like almost like what Bob's saying. Like somebody's wanting to get, like, come on, into the white van with the, covered windows, the blacked out windows for some candy. So, you got to be real careful because, well, we won't get ahead of ourselves. Okay. Let's see what they got for Poltergeist. Let's see how far. Wow, they got a lot on Poltergeist. All right. Okay. Poltergeist. Hollywood. Oh, they're jumping into Hollywood. Hollywood has told us that poltergeist means noisy ghost in German. Hollywood was close, but it actually means rumble ghost, which I guess could be construed to mean the same thing. Yeah, I mean you don't really have to like dissect that too much apart. All right, it pretty much is noisy ghost. Ghost that makes noise. Right. The thing that Hollywood got completely wrong in the poltergeist movies is that poltergeist activity is caused by a ghost of some sort, generally. Whoa. Sorry, guys, but my computer almost, look at this. All right. Yeah, I had like my updates all of a sudden just said, "Hey, you want to restart? Like restart my computer?" No, we're in the middle of something here. Rude. Anyways, that was rude. Stupid Windows. All right, back to where we were. So, the activity is caused by a ghost of some sort, generally an evil or demonic one. Many people currently believe that poltergeist activity is caused by a living human who is referred to as the human agent. The human agent historically has been a female that was going through puberty. Although there have been some cases of male human agents as well as older female human agents, it is believed that the physical changes that the girl's body is undergoing combined with her other emotional, psychological, or physical variables results in the activity manifesting. This activity is believed to be psychokinetic or PK in nature. This means that the person is able to move physical objects with their mind. It is thought that this comes as a result of self preservation reaction by the brain when the subject is not dealing with certain things in a healthy way. The one thing Hollywood got correct was a lot of the activity that was portrayed. Activity can include large objects being thrown around a room, pennies raining from the ceiling, people being scratched, punched, or pinched, and even pulled into TVs. Oh, I gotta just do that in there. In some cases, physical or sexual abuse may be at the center of the activity, and usually the person responsible for the abuse is the target of any attacks. The person who is the human agent is generally very afraid whenever activity occurs, and they aren't aware that they are causing it, nor do they have any control over it. Determining who is the human agent is the key to stopping the activity, and this can be done by simply observing who is present when activity occurs and who is not. By process of elimination, you can figure out who the human agent is once they are made aware that they may be causing this activity to occur. It usually stops. Poltergeist activity is very rare, and there are only a handful of true poltergeist cases throughout recent history. The chances that you will experience this type of haunting is very low. Update. Okay. Paranormal PIM has recently found additional information through research that poltergeist cases are most likely all hoaxed. Wow. Mainly by the human agents themselves. Upon questioning, most of these individuals, usually children, admit to causing the activity when adults weren't looking or were not present in the room. The reason for why the hoax was conducted was always for some need for attention. As such, it is the official stance of PIM that there is no such things as poltergeist hauntings. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. Uh, so Bob says, let me go back here. Let's go back here. Y'all were talking. All right, Stacy says, and that's when you see the tear-soaked mattress in the back. Right? Attention-seeking ghost. Right? Gotta love windows and their untimely events. Ghosts in the machine. Laugh out loud. Maybe your computer just experienced a poltergeist. Oh, and by the way, hi Janet. It's good to see you pop in there. My EVP 8B calls them poltergeist, poltergeist. My EVP app, poltergeist. I don't know. Poltergeist, not scary. I believe that there's a fine line between a spirit trying to get attention and an unconscious energy by a human. Okay, so do I agree with their take on poltergeist? I think traditionally, noisy ghost. It's just a thing. So in other words, when you have a haunting with objects moving, doors slamming, chairs moving, that's where they typically define as a poltergeist. Now, where they they tended to start shifting more was that the objects that were being moved and things like that, when they were going into these locations and they weren't getting an intelligent response from their sessions, when they could not get an intelligent response, but they were getting objects moving and things like that, then they started really kind of leaning more toward that was actually called like a poltergeist. And I'm not talking about just Hollywood, like the Hollywood movie stuff like that. I'm not even addressing the movie and all that. That's just Hollywood, it's a movie. But as far as the puberty thing and PKE, the psychokinetic energy, do I believe in that? Do I believe that tense situations, puberty, things like that, domestic violence can cause some of these hauntings? I I I do believe so. Okay, I do believe so. However, that's weird. I just sorry about that. Like somebody was like just at my door. Um, my wife was Terry Lynn was dealing with it, but I didn't know what was going on. Sorry guys. So I just heard somebody out, and it's like 9:30 at night. So might have been a delivery. That's weird. Late. Might have been a late delivery. Like UPS out running late. I don't know. Anyways, back to what I was saying. But yeah, do I believe that can happen? Sure. I mean, I've been to cases like that. I've been to cases where there was so much stress and things like that that there was causing activity. But do I think it was necessarily you know like a child moving a table with their energy? Not necessarily. I think that some of these situations attract entities and can cause activities and things like that. It's a very crazy part of thing. Now, what they're talking about with the hoaxes, when like why they're denouncing poltergeist. So again, you got to be very careful. Like I would never, if I was a paranormal Milwaukee investigators of Maryland, if I was PIM, I would never just denounce and say there's no such thing as poltergeist hauntings. I wouldn't say that. If I was them, I could say like in our experience, or we have yet to come across an actual poltergeist haunting or something, activity, poltergeist activity. Like they could say that, but I would never just say no such thing as poltergeist haunting. So Milwaukee, if you're listening to this, you might want to just reword that. I'm telling you, just a few little rewordings, and you guys are spot on here for the well, not spot on, but I'm just saying you guys are doing good. But I'm just saying, like, no such thing as poltergeist hauntings. Hey, if you have not experienced them yet, say that, but don't just discredit it because there's a lot of craziness that has happened in some of these cases, and I've been to some of these places that, again, we're talking about a definition. Poltergeist is not just set to one specific thing. It's been kind of a gray area, so be careful with that. So yeah, I see UPS is that late here. Well, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm trying to see if I can ask Terry Lynn. She's not. She's been kind of busy. Um, Sorry about that, but yeah, Terry Lynn's been kind of busy taking care of some things tonight, so that's why she hasn't really been on here too much. I don't know, but all right. All right. So, anybody got any other comments on poltergeist activity? I tried to clear that up as much as I could. So, I know Stacy's probably having to watch the rest of it here, or he might be gone or leaving. So, but again, so if anybody and if anybody watches this later, like afterwards, if you have questions, by all means, uh, you know, put them in the comments down below. Message me, if you have questions about the stuff. Okay, let's get into Inhuman. Ooh, looks like they got a lot of a lot of stuff on Inhuman. All right, Inhuman. So thanks again to Hollywood. When you hear the term inhuman haunting, we automatically think of a demonic haunting. However, inhuman hauntings refer to any hauntings caused by something that never walked the earth as a human. So this would include angelic, animal, and elemental hauntings. Angelic and animal hauntings are pretty self explanatory, but elemental hauntings are less well known and require some further explanation. The basic concept of an elemental refers to the ancient idea of elements earth, water, wind, and fire. And no, not the band, and either as the fundamental building blocks of nature. They were prominent in many of the native cultures throughout the world. Elementals are referred to by various names. In the English European traditions, this includes fairies, elves, brownies, leprechauns, gnomes, sprites, pixies, banshees, goblins, dryads, mermaids, trolls, dragons, griffins, and numerous others. Gnomes are an example of an earth elemental, and nymphs are an example of a water elemental. It is believed that elemental spirits possess supernatural powers and are usually invisible to humans, living among the trees, rivers, plants, bogs, mountains, and minerals. They attach themselves to practically every natural thing. Earthly elementals are the metaphysical cause of earthquakes, floods, gales, thunderstorms, and wildfires. Animism, which is the oldest known human spiritual practice, is the belief that elementals inhabit all things. The belief in elementals predates all the major religions. Now, as was stated at the beginning of the section, when most people heard the term inhuman haunting, they think demonic haunting. As such, it is pertinent to include a section about demonic hauntings here as well. First and foremost, demonic hauntings are very dangerous and should not be treated lightly. Whether you believe in demons or not, a demonic haunting essentially has all the hallmarks of a poltergeist haunting except for a few exceptions. The first is that many or all religious items displayed in the home will go missing or return around or upside down over a period of time. The second is the smell of sulfur just before, during, when activity is occurring. The third thing is sometimes noticed during these sorts of hauntings is it seems one person is affected more than others and behavior changes are noted about that person. However, it is hard to say if this is a psychological result of living in a haunted location or if something outside of that person is affecting them adversely. Demonic hauntings, demonic, demonic hauntings are very serious. However, the chances of you coming in contact with a demonic haunting is very unlikely. There are no documented demonic cases that have been able to locate. There are definitely not as common as the television shows and movies would have you believe. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here as well. Bob says brownies, elf scout cookies. And ICU said hi, Terry Lynn. I don't know if she's listening. I don't even know if she's watching the show tonight. I'm sorry. All right. So all right, there's a lot to unpack here. So first of all, um, you know, I always call them demonic hauntings. Like, it's not a big deal, in my opinion, whether the demonic, although you do tend to give things a negative invitation. However, you know, I came across an elemental one time in Hales Bar Dam, and so I don't normally come across them. Does that mean that I'm looking for elementals, or is it easy to identify them? Things like that. I don't know. They put a lot of definition in here on that, which I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see that they really covered that part of it, and I am glad to see that they went and chose to use the term inhuman instead of demonic. And I'm sitting there reading to them, and I should be looking at you guys, but I do like the fact that they are using the term uh, inhuman versus demonic. I use demonic just because that's kind of what we tend to look at when we're in certain cases. Now, do we come across them? No, they are right about that. They are right about that they're not very common. Um, some of the symptoms of like they're saying is similar to like poltergeist. Yeah, I can agree with that. Some of the religious items going missing, things like that. I can agree with some of these things. Um, but again, I would always, I guess the best thing to do, and this is just sort of a piece of advice, is when you go into a situation, always assume that it could be demonic, it could be inhuman situation. Okay. Always go into that with that assumption first because you just never know. And you want to be safe than sorry. So once as you investigate, and if you start noticing certain patterns, and that's what you're really trying to do is when you investigate, you're trying to figure out one of these four buckets, right? Is it, residual? Is it intelligent? Is it poltergeist? Is it, you know, inhuman? One of these four buckets, and that's what your job as an investigator is what is that? Once you kind of figure out what you're dealing with, then you can also figure out why. If it's intelligent, you know, what may be the cause? What was the history of that property? Or did somebody pass away there? I mean, what's going on? If it's residual, what events took place in the history? Was there a war there, battle, something traumatic? What's going on? Is there elements there that could record this and play back loop after loop after loop, like they did mention quartz, different minerals, running water, things like that. So what things could that possibly be? Poltergeist activity again. Is there intelligent response? Is objects moving? What can you do about it? But you're trying to get to those goals, those what four main categories that really helps you to divvy out what to do next. That's why I like to bring that up. And but but again, as paranormal investigators, you have to really pay attention to um, the signs, what's going on. There's a lot of tricks that can be played. There's a real fine line sometimes when you start communicating with a spirit, or and even if you're not, directly communicating, if you're at a location and you get communication to your devices, you have to be careful what it may be. And as Bob pointed out, it could be a trick, you know. Um, what else? Okay, so yeah, you guys are good on comments there. So when you go in, when you approach an investigation, always assume the worst and prepare yourself for the worst. That way, because if you just go in thinking, whatever, and that's probably the one critique I would say that on this section of that the Milwaukee folks had was that they almost kind of made it seem like it was, you know, not a big deal. Kind of, it's rare to come across, so it's like, well, you don't have to worry too much. You should always be prepared. Always assume the worst, because then one day, if you're prepared and you do encounter a demonic case or inhuman case, like I said, I went in even at Hell's Bar Dam. It was one of the first times they ever encountered an inhuman, like an elemental, and it was a guardian spirit summoned from Native Americans. I never was around something like that ever, so it was really interesting. And anyways, I don't want to get into that, but elementals, you know, the thing is that I do believe some elementals will communicate and can communicate with you. It's a different type of intelligence. So it the way they communicate, at least the one I communicated with, um, very odd, very peculiar, almost very direct. Like not a lot of normal conversation type stuff, I guess you'd say. Just very, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It really is. And it's also a little bit of feeling as well. Bob says never ever try to piss off an unknown entity to get a response because you might get a response you won't like. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, some of these people, they try to antagonize, and they go in there and it's like, why? Why are you provoking? You know, you don't know what you're about to unleash. Not only that, like I've said in another show, don't make it worse for the next person. Just because you may not believe in something, or just because you might go in there and think you're the man, you're a woman, or you're awesome, and you're gonna make this ghost mad, and you're like the best paranormal investigators in the world. Look, don't go in there and talk a bunch of crap, stir everything up, open up a can of worms, and then leave. Then you're leaving like, yeah, we told them, man. I don't know. Or yeah, we got some, we ticked them off and we got some activity. Well, yeah, you might have got some activity, but then you left. Anyways. So I just thought we would take a look at some of the types of hauntings. Thought it'd be pretty neat. All right, I'm just trying to do a look here. Here, I'll just share with you guys so you can kind of see too. So I just pulled up. This is haunted OC Orange County.com. Types of hauntings. So of course I'm not going to go through and read these people either. But it's just interesting. It says residual haunting activity can also be caused by positive energy blasted into the atmosphere. Many times you've heard ghost stories where people can hear the sound of a party. They hear music, singing, dancing, laughter. And when they enter the room where they hear the party, there's no one there. Residual haunting activity can be the specters of living beings. So again, what they're basically saying is like, that's you. You're projecting it. All right. So yeah, you might hear people talking in another room, and you go in there and they're not there. But is it actually did your psychokinetic energy create mumbling? Did it create two people talking? And it was captured on a recorder also. So there's other theories. So so I just thought it was interesting, guys. You can go to some of these people's website, and you can kind of look through here, talking about stuff that, and they even talk about poltergeist going back to the ancient Roman times, of course. I mean, guys, if you really want to go back, you can go all the way back to the Mesopotamians and their obsession with demons and stuff like that. The paranormal has been around since the beginning of mankind, if you really want to go back to it. It's crazy. So now they call it demonic activity. See, they don't do the inhuman thing here. They call it demons or entities that have never had a mortal human form, extraterrestrial. If you believe that God and his angels are from the heavens, that would make them extraterrestrial. If Satan and one third of the angels rebelled against God's kingdom, then Satan and one third of the angels that became demons are also extraterrestrial. So I guess, when people say extraterrestrial, they're automatically like ET aliens, whereas they're actually sort of like, hey, there's a technical, like God and the aliens or God and angels are extraterrestrial because they're not here on Earth, so to speak, uh, from humans. So, they're going to take kind of that stance, and that's cool. You know, it's pretty neat to see all the different stuff, huh? So Bob says, I attempted to dare a demonic entity to make me 100 pounds lighter and 25 years younger. It didn't work, right? It backfired on me. See, it backfired on me, Bob. Now I'm 100 pounds heavier and 25 years older. I don't know what the hell happened. So, well, maybe you triggered it. When you asked, and the opposite went to somebody else. It's hard to imagine ghosts being ETs. Well, and again, this is where they were talking about the actual definition of extraterrestrial versus aliens from another planet in that sense. So, so anything they're basically saying anything that's not standing on this earth is pretty much going to be extraterrestrial. Um, but the one thing is it's not just Satan and his crew. They have to remember that there's more to evil spirits than just Satan and his crew, because Satan and his crew still walk freely between heaven and earth, whereas we have other creatures, other angels that were locked in heaven or locked in hell, not not the devil, but the fallen angels, the 200 fallen angels that fell um, when they lusted after women, as we talked about. Now, there was also the giants and the Nephilim that fell, and where the punishment was to be evil spirits to roam, and they were banished to earth forever. So I think there's some things that I think what you're going to see is when you go from paranormal group to paranormal group to paranormal group, even myself or them, no matter where you go, you're going to see someone's going to believe in more elemental kind of stuff because it's going to, and you can tell because it's heavier in their definition. So it's heavier in their definition about elementals, like we saw in Milwaukee, the investigators of Milwaukee, PIM, and we saw that their main focus was inhuman, elemental. And they said, oh, and also, and it was kind of like toward the end, if you do believe in demons, like God and demons, then okay, here's the signs, and just be careful. It doesn't really happen that often. And then you go to somebody like here, and you go to Orange County, right? Haunted Orange County, right? You go here and you look at their demonic stuff. They're mainly talking about Satan and his angels, and they're kind of talking about it, but they're also talking about more of like, hey, this is these are kind of extraterrestrial. That's their origin. Um, and of course, they get into black mist, black fog, black shadow, black smoke. Um, so I don't know if all things shadowy or black is going to be demonic. I would probably, I don't know if I would go there on that, but definitely seeing black shadows, the shadow people, dark shadows, shadow figures, shadow people. Again, I don't know if they're always inhuman or demonic. So you got to, sometimes people got to watch how they word some of these things. Creatures are very strong, unlike human spirits, and they don't mind showing it. There have been cases when people thrown through the air and even attacked. So, I think for the most part, they got a lot of things in here that seem to be what some people talk about. On the most part, I don't know. Obviously, they probably haven't been to maybe many demonic cases. Again, I haven't either. That's the thing. So there's still a lot of investigators that's never been at an actual demonic case, or at least that they hadn't known about. So sometimes maybe you've escaped them. I think I've been to some places where I probably escaped potential demonic problems. So somebody's a bit there's some pretty crazy stuff out there. So intelligent slash interactive activity. So they have intelligent slash interactive activity. So they talk about Einstein's theory, and they're talking about matter and quantum. So they're sort of trying to mix in a little bit of quantum physics, energy, along with a little bit of Christianity, kind of with God and Satan, but they're not fully committing to uh, the religious part of it. They're sort of kind of mixing a little bit of Einstein theory, things like that. That's not too bad. Again, I respect all people's theories. I'm just trying to see what they're all kind of going with. Now, they actually do have a separate thing for shadow people and shadow creatures. Okay, so here you go. They said this is a type of haunting activity that has no real explanation. They are different from ghosts. They are usually shapeless, dark masses, mostly seen with your peripheral vision. They are known to do things that are different from ghosts. They can move between walls. They have no human features. They wear no clothes except for the Hat Man, hooded figure shadow creatures. People who encounter them have a feeling of dread. Clairvoyants that encounter shadow people say they do not feel they are human and consider them non-human. Um, Shadow people have no discernible mouth. And again, in look, this is what we were talking about. It's I will say, going back to PIM or Milwaukee folks, it does seem like having that category of inhuman probably is a better category to put that stuff with demonic and shadow people. It can be kind of a large category, but that really is, you want to keep that four main categories. You just do. You don't want to keep branching out too many other categories, because again, we're just talking about types of activity. So once you get into the inhumane part of it, or inhuman part of it, then you can decide whether or not are you getting intelligent response from shadow people. There's still a lot up in the air on shadow people. Ooh, excuse me. So yeah, portal hauntings. Here we go. Portals aren't really a new concept, as we've seen them in a lot of sci-fi flicks. But in the real world, portal hauntings are considered controversial, as there is little known and the idea is mostly theory or speculation. Portals are thought to be doorways to another world or dimension in which entities travel through. It's speculated that portals are not limited to one location, region, or limited to sacred ground. Typically, places that experience a wide array of different types of anomalies, such as glowing balls of light, odd creatures, strange shapes, or unexplained mists or fogs, are suspected to have a portal in which these energies are traveling back and forth. So, portals you could really get into. There is a history on portals more than obviously sci-fi flicks. Um, and these guys probably should do some more scripture reading, and not just the Bible, but they should probably they should probably dive into the Old Testament in the Bible, but they should also get into some other scriptures and some other ancient talk about portals as well. But there's portals in the Bible, and there's portals in some other scriptures that were even in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So portals have been around, and they are for sure, and they are at least said in some of these scriptures that they are the ways that angels travel. There's actually a room of portals right before God's throne. So these portals again are how some of these angels are traveling. Um, and of course, there can be portals probably between other areas. So I'm sure there's many portals that are always constantly being used by these different spiritual and energy creatures. There may be limitations on them. There may be different types. Who knows? And then of course it seems like sometimes we open our own gateways. Let's see. Bob says, I see you. I can believe that a conscious energy living on a planet that could not support material life as we know it, it would still be an ET. But to us, they would appear to be a ghost. I don't know, Bob. I always thought of them as different types of paranormal. Well, again, we don't, just remember, we don't want to get caught up too much in definitions, really. Because, again, extraterrestrial versus paranormal, paranormal just means above normal, right? Anything that's kind of out of the ordinary. Um, so, a ghost, ET, they're all could be paranormal, really. A lot of times when we do talk paranormal, like if you say, "Hey, did you see that paranormal show?" A lot of times you're not going in there expecting to talk about aliens, for example. Normally, you're going to go see and think you're going to hear stories about ghosts or shows about ghosts. That's why, even though I'm called the Everything Paranormal Show, I do like to tackle aliens and cryptids and different things, but primarily, we mostly focus on ghosts because again, that's what most people think of when they think of paranormal. But technically, paranormal is a large category. So don't worry about the semantics, guys, of everything. Um, again, anything outside of everything is extraterrestrial. So, but anyways, I just thought we'd just look at something. I just thought it'd be really neat to look at a few different views on what other people out there were talking about types of hauntings, and what they had to say. So apparently these people have ghost walks and things like that. I don't want to put them on blast here, but here we go. Let's just go to their paranormal tour and event company. So there you go. Featured in Travel Channel and all look at all these places. Look at that. That's nice. So California's largest ghost walk and haunted entertainment source. So that's cool. All right. So there you have it, folks. So we've kind of been diving into some different categories. So hopefully, if you are a investigator and you wanted to know a little bit more about what's important about them, again, it's not so much. I think the most important thing to understand is that these buckets exist, these topics, however you want to call them, these categories exist so you can uh, identify in your haunting and know what you're dealing with, or at least think you know what you're dealing with. So, all right, a ghost and a flying saucer would be kind of cute, right? Or like, yeah, like a ghost and like a flying saucer, and they're like beaming up Bigfoot, right? Like just do one of those, like that'd be a good t-shirt idea, right? Somebody should make that. Just a silhouette of like, the flying saucer, like a generic flying saucer with like an alien head and a ghost head, or just a ghost flying the saucer, and then have the beam and have the like an outline of a Yeti or Bigfoot, getting sucked up into that. So, and have like a big portal above the flying saucer. I don't know. Just incorporate it all. That would be fun. And they'd have to figure. They'd have a finger to probe you. Yes. Always got to talk about the probe. Anytime Bob talks about, like, I think he looks forward to when we bring up aliens, because every time we bring up aliens, Bob's got to talk about the probe. Always has to talk about probe. So I don't want to get too Freudian in involved in this, but I'm just saying, Bob, you might want to focus on some other parts of alien abductions. But I gotta admit, though, let's face it, that's always been the case. Though every time it's almost cheesy now. Like in Hollywood, every time they bring up alien abductions, it sounds like a running joke now. Oh, did you get probed? you know. Anyways, uh I hope you guys are having fun tonight. I know it's not a super fun show. I thought it'd be interesting. I just thought it'd be fun to really dive into these. Uh, okay, balls, Paul. I just thought it'd be fun to really dive into just these categories and see what people were saying about them. And so it's interesting. I've learned a few things myself tonight just by looking at a few of those websites, and that's just like two of thousands of theories out there. So you're going to see your variations. There's no doubt about it. Again, there's people that they honestly believe. Like if you like, I'm pretty sure if the folks over at PIM in Milwaukee, if they ever watch this video, they're gonna be like, "Well, screw this guy or whatever." Like, who's this guy to tell me? They all have their pride. They all have their pride, and a lot of them just they feel like they're right. They're like, "Look, I know I'm right. I feel like I'm pretty close to the truth, and based on my experience or whatever." But again, all I was pointing out to them was some clarification errors and some things like that. Some things I probably wouldn't denounce, like the poltergeist stuff. But other than that, like I said, I respect everybody's views. It's definitely interesting. My views. I'm not saying I'm right. I've been doing this a long time. I have been around a lot of investigations and paranormal activity, and just based on everything I've seen and witnessed all the and I do believe a lot of the ancient scriptures because mankind in general tried to document things. So I think when you start taking a lot of documentation over the years and you look at that running theme, what seems to be some of the same things that are told, not just in one particular culture, but in some of the different cultures, and some of the different there's some of them the cultures that weren't even connected even back then. And you look at some of these themes, and again, I've always told you guys, I think that the truth usually always lies somewhere in the middle. So when you start looking at all these cultures and what they're saying and what they're experiencing, and they document these things, you kind of look and try to see where seems to actually be the truth in that, versus just face value of everything, right? So what overall are you seeing patterns and certain things? So that's why, again, a lot of the things I talk about in my experiences, there's some of the things that are down the middle, just based on experience. Like, hey, because of my experience, I think this particular way. This is what I've witnessed. This is what I've felt. So this is what I think. I try not to get too caught up in the details sometimes, and just like, hey, this is what it is. Just like ET or extraterrestrial or ghost or paranormal, or there's a lot of wordage. It's no big deal. We'll figure it out. So, all right. Other than that, guys, we'll probably start wrapping it up. Got a few things I got to get done before I jet off to my next job. Um, like always, maybe another day when maybe I'll get good at this one day and I won't have to do my other jobs. So one of these days. But anyways, folks, it was great to see you on here. If you have any last minute questions, I am going to start wrapping up. Guys, don't forget. Well, actually, it's okay. You can forget. I don't have anything important. But I will say this. Like I said, some of you all in the chat, some of my folks I'm going to be getting with. I've got a special idea that I'm trying to put together. I think I might take the show to another level, or at least another notch, I should say. Not take it up another tick or two. So folks, pay attention for that coming up soon. And other than that, I think you guys should have a excellent evening. And remember, seek the truth. We'll see you next week, guys.